World Financial Group offers entrepreneurs from all backgrounds the opportunity to start their own business on a level playing field. Dr. Yana Woodhouse, receiving the WCM Wall Street Pioneer Award by the United Black Wall Street of America, Inc., is one of those entrepreneurs.
I see WFG and TFA as a place where African Americans with an entrepreneurial mindset can flourish. And the bonus, we help families and serve the communities across the country.
To learn more about us, go to worldfinancialgroup.com.
We are the sons and daughters of the soul. We are resilient and forever forward-thinking. We ask for nothing else than the opportunity to live and to create the lives that we were meant to live. We want nothing but an equal chance at options and possibilities. The same possibilities and options to live out our potential as our fellow man. We want to be heard, understood, and expressive in our reality. We are the future. We are the creative. We are here.
Hello, and welcome once again to another hour of Leverage Your Score. My name is Tyrone Glover, and I am your Dressed Down CEO, hosting, as always, the show that brings you the knowledge that you are going to need to bring you to that next level of where should you be financially. I don't know if all of you or some of you may or may not understand that they just passed something historic in the House right now, in the Senate, a Build Back America Better rescue plan. I mean, you might not see it in the manner in which I see it, but that's going to help you, help me, help you get to that level where you want to be. But it's first got to come with your data. You got to begin to start transitioning from what was to now what will be. And if you want to be part of that will be, this is where you get that information. This is where you start putting the pieces together to create that foundation that's going to allow for you to prosper. We've gone through hardships. We've gone through enough pain and enough suffrage. It's now time to focus on the building back better, but I want to add a little something more to that. I want to build back better communities of color. How about that? I want to build back better communities of color, Black, brown communities of color. I want to help you guys build back better. There's a lot of things that I've been doing just in the last 9 months that have showed me the trajectory in which I'm on, the path in which I'm on to help individuals get there. I'm doing the right thing. I get validations every single day, not just from my own efforts, but from the consumers that I'm helping, from my students that I get to help, from the passerbyers that I get to help that I might see on that second opportunity that we're, walking through the square. We're walking through an area where we have more than likely would frequent each other's understanding. And again, I'm telling you folks, this is important. This show is important. Dr. Yana B. Woodhouse show is important. These financial shows that are being presented to you on Soul City Network are super important, not discounting any of the other shows that are being brought to you as well. These relationship shows, the urbanology show, the shows that really are opening the eyes to what our community has to offer. We are living in times in which you can make the most of all of this information, everything that we have. So I'm blessed. I'm pleased. I'm always thankful to be able to do what I do every single Tuesday. Leverage Your Score is here to make sure that you have the updated, the latest information when it comes to your credit profile. If you haven't watched these shows, I would recommend that you go back and take a look at some of them past shows. And I just wanted to highlight something as well. I am working live from my home, from where I reside. And sometimes technology allows for that to go really, really well, and sometimes it doesn't. But I appreciate all of you, every single one of you who helped with producing this show. I appreciate Matt, Jasmine, everyone in the background. I appreciate all of those who take the time out to view the show. This is something that I know if individuals take this serious, we can take this to a whole new realm. I know what I'm doing. What I'm doing is going to benefit those who have already benefited from it. They can tell you right now that it's every bit of worth it. Leverage your score. Get that knowledge that you need. Pay attention to all of the things that are already going on within our communities. There's a lot of wealth. There's a lot of money out there. And I don't want anybody who looks like me to miss out. I don't want anybody to miss out. If you're struggling now, if you're suffering now, there's opportunities out there because we have brilliant, bright, talented individuals on a plethora of financial experience and knowledge. And I'm going to share with you the one book that has helped me get to some of my understandings. Dr. Yanapi's How Money Works. Don't or stop being a sucker, because again, a lot of us are being a sucker to things that we could be undoing, but we're choosing not to. So come on. Awesome book. Very, very easy read. I was able to breeze through this. It gave me some very important information about what I was doing with my money that I needed to stop doing with my money. And once I stopped doing that with my money, I started benefiting from all the hard work that I put in to get my money. So on that note, I want to jump right into our subject matter, which we're going to be talking about debt collection. Are you being harassed by debt collectors? Because they're out there. They are out there doing their due diligence. But before I even begin that, I almost messed up the whole show. Got to give that thanks to the creator. Got to tell him thank you. Thank you for allowing me to do. And if you have not thanked your creator, please do so at this time as we give thanks to that creator. Because without him, none of this would be possible. None of this would be possible. Thank you again to all of you who take the time out. This is 1 hour of a time frame that I would be normally watching. And I'm going to give my guy Ari Melber some shout outs because he does a great job on MSNBC. Ari Melber is my guy. I still keep him on TV while I'm watching what I'm doing, or while I'm doing what I'm doing, I'm still watching him in the background. So Ari, even though I'm not giving you that attention, that love, you still are always on. That 6 o'clock time spot is my favorite time spot. So thank you to everyone who really, again, you could be doing something else, but you chose to be here. And for that, I thank you. So let's dive right on into that material. But if you haven't already, please go on out there, tap someone on the shoulder, tell them we are live, tell them to join in the conversation. I'm doing it now myself, joining the conversation. Join in the conversation. We are live. Join in the conversation. Go ahead and send that out to as many people as you want to. I'm doing it. I'm sending it out to at least as many people that I know that I can fit on my screen. And this technology works so beautifully. I love it. I love to watch technology. I think it's so cool to be able to, again, just hop through and just send it out. So send as many of those as you possibly can out to people. Tell them we are live. Tell them we're doing our thing. All right, so leverage credit recovery. Our recovery depends on what we do now. It depends on what we do now. Not depends on what we do tomorrow, not depends on what we do next week. It doesn't even depend on what we say we're going to do. It depends on what we actually do. Today in the Senate, it passed a $4 trillion. I think it was $1.2 trillion Build Back America plan. They got more coming down the pipeline. There's going to be a lot of resources that are going to be out there for individuals, again, of color, black and brown. But it's going to start with how you take care of your data. If your data is all screwed up, trust me, when you go to apply for some of these resources might not be there. So this is going to be a way to position yourself prior to. We're not looking at these resources being divvied out until somewhere around probably beginning of the next year. But why not start now? You should have started last year. Should have started prior to that. But I'm not going to hold you to what you should have, could have, would have done. I'm going to now hold you to what you can do right this minute. And it's going to start with how you address debt collectors, because you might not, or I'm sure you do know, moratoriums. If you haven't heard that word, I'm sure some of you have. Moratoriums. That means that these renter moratoriums are now up. Some of them have been up. Some of them are now due to be up in September. So that means some of you are going to be in court. Some of you might be dealing with debt collectors. Some of you are probably already dealing with debt collectors. Well, I'm going to here today show you how to navigate your way through. And again, this might go a little bit fast. This might go a little bit slow. For those of you who can keep up, those of you who may need some additional time frame, please reach out to us. Leverage Credit Recovery. LeverageCreditRecovery@gmail.com. You can send us an email, leveragecreditrecovery.com. There's always a place right there where you can get that free consultation where we can help you with a plethora of credit-related situations. So please don't think for a second that you are ever out there in the cold. You are not. We are here to assist and help you through. This show is about education. This show has always been about making sure that you have the best possible information known to man so that you can go out there and do what is necessary to protect your resources. Just that simple. Protect them resources. Because if you're not protecting them, trust me, who's protecting your resources? All right, so are you being harassed by a debt collector? So as we move through this PowerPoint, you're going to see some really cool stuff. It's going to be able to help you, again, navigate through. If anybody ever wants a one-on-one, please do not hesitate. I'll be more than happy to address a one-on-one with you. All you got to do, again, leveragecreditrecovery.com or send me an email at leveragecreditrecovery.com or even reach right out to Soul City. Reach right out to Soul City. That's perfect. That is perfect. If you can't get me, use the means in which we have that I'm communicating with you right now. Use Soul City as that means. All right, so debt collection companies. First and foremost, what are they? Debt collection companies must follow the law. Again, these are companies that buy debt, okay? They may tell you that they acquire that debt. Oh, well, we're working for the company. No, under normal circumstances, that doesn't work that way. These companies buy debt. They go out and they buy debt. They buy it. They buy it on pennies on the dollar. The average debt right now is being bought for 4 cents. 4 cents. So just imagine this for 1 second. If you had $1,000 debt that was in a company, and they were calling you or they were sending you any type of communications, regardless of how those communications come through, you are protected by the law. That debt, $1,000, 4 cents, that means they bought that debt for $40. $40. Now, all day long, if I was in some situation where I needed to pay off someone, if they told me that, hey, $40, because again, there's a whole process that works for the original creditor to be able to put this debt into a charge-off type of situation to even begin with. All right. Okay. So yes, I'm going to give you a lot of information. This might even take 2 sessions, but that's okay because that's what we do here. We make sure you are well versed. So debt collection companies are companies that buy debt. Some of them sometimes acquire the debt or they're working as a partnership with the original creditor, but for the most part, absolutely not. The original creditor wants nothing to do with this debt. Bad debt deduction. I'm just going to leave you with that because I'm going to talk about that one in another segment. Bad debt deduction that these law firms and these debt collection companies, these predators do not want you to know. So debt collection companies must follow the law under the Fair Debt Collection Practice Act. It's FDCPA when trying to collect a debt, regardless of whether or not you owe the debt. Collection companies are not allowed to harass you or use unlawful practices in order to collect. And they use them all the time. They're still making them phone calls. They're still calling your cell phone, which we're going to talk about that as well. That's a violation. They can't call your cell phone. Now, I know many of us only have cell phones, but technically, again, they cannot call your cell phone. If you have been harassed or your rights under the FDCPA have been violated or by any of the agencies now that says listed below, there is a list that I would provide to you. Obviously, if you want to know it, please send me an email. Send me an email. This list has every single one of these habitual abusers. And again, habitual abusers. They know how to get around the laws. They use court tactics. They use all kinds of means to, again, circumvent your actual rights. And if you don't know your rights, guess what? You don't have any. It's just that simple. Don't know them, don't have any. And you may be able to sue, collect a monetary award for damages. So it's really important to understand how this works. All right. Who are they? Number one, debt collection companies just buy debt and then they come after you trying to collect. They buy these debts at pennies on the dollar. So let's talk about something that I've been pretty much involved in myself, which is a class action lawsuit. Now, class action lawsuits mean that we as an individual have grouped together with multiple individuals, and we're going to go after a company because we all pretty much have the same complaint with this company that they have violated. They have violated some form of our consumer rights, and all of us believe that, hey, if we lump together, we can do a class action lawsuit. Class action lawsuit is when many people have the same complaint with a company. And Equifax, TransUnion, Experian, I believe that it's overdue time for us as citizens to take these three companies to task because the violations that they have created is overwhelming. It's overwhelming. Billion-dollar companies that get to take us to task for information that they're receiving voluntarily and using it against us to create a fictitious number that we're supposed to more or less live by in order to be able to receive financial, or shall we say, lending opportunities. BS. I call BS on that one. Yes. So these companies, as we were reading here, and all those people sue the company together. So this would be a class action lawsuit. We would just lump together and we would sue them together. One lawsuit is filed on behalf of all of the members. We would be all considered the members, and there would be one person who would be the captain. That person would be more or less the person who would be speaking. But guess what? I'd love us all to be the captain. For me, it doesn't matter. What for me matters is that we are taking these companies to task. They're using vicious, high-tech weaponry against us, the consumers, holding us hostage to things that we don't even begin to know about proprietary information that they're using against us. Sorry, this has to change, and it needs to change yesterday. But with anything, it's going to take some time. But prior to that, as long as we have our T's crossed and our I's dotted, we'll have absolutely no problem because the courts likes paperwork. And I like to create a lot of paperwork for the courts. So we will advise you when we believe that your, again, case, this is a case. We would be creating a case that would be presented in front of a judge, and hopefully we can even get it to a jury, because the jury would be even better. Be suited for a class action based upon the pre-suited investigation and experience. But if we all know that we've been going through the same type of understanding, then there's really not much that needs to be pre-investigated, or the experience is already there. We know what these companies have been doing. It's just that simple. And I think we should really start considering, every single consumer who can hear me, we need to start considering class action lawsuits against some of these, if not all of these, debt collection companies. All right, so dealing with common credit report errors. Do you have damaging errors on your credit report and need help? So these are some of the things that we're going to be covering today, dealing with them, and do you have actually any of those on your credit report, and how do you get that assistance? So here are some of the most common errors you may find on your credit report. Outdated information. Outdated information more or less means that it's old, it's past the statute of limitations, or you, for whatever reason, may have satisfied it and it's still showing up on your credit report. All right, clerical errors, time, dates, the amounts of certain things are considered clerical errors, and those errors could cost you. They could cost you. And I tell you right now, bad debt deduction, I'm going to reiterate that for a couple of times. Bad debt deduction. Please look it up. I'm not going to talk about it. I'm only going to keep saying it because it's a key, a significant part into why a lot of these debt collection companies continue to keep pulling the wool over our eyes, duping the courts. They're using fraudulent math to actually hold you accountable to something that you really don't even know. mistakes and merged accounts. I've seen triplicates. I've seen duplicates on people's accounts. And that is a error. It's a violation. Every one of these items that we're referring to is considered a violation. That is a violation of your consumer rights. You have to know your rights in order to understand that somebody is taking advantage of you. Your 500 score could easily probably be a 700 score if you did some of these small little things, which is investigating your own personal data. Identity theft. We know how rampant that has been going on right now. Rampant. Hopefully none of you have been a victim, but if you're not checking your data, guess what? You could potentially have already been a victim of identity theft. Those first three are the ones that really are the key kickers to why some of us of color are constantly in credit harm's way. Right there, those first three. Incorrect criminal background checks. Again, never been in jail, never had any information, but that should still not hinder you if that information is incorrect. The overall consumer protection acts are about accuracy. And if information is being inaccurately placed on your credit profile, wouldn't you want to know about that? But if you don't do your due diligence, Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian, they're not going to reach out for you. They're not going to tell you, oh, by the way, we found this mistake. We're going to correct it. They're not going to do that for you. Credit reports say you are deceased. Now that one I haven't been confronted with. But again, if it's out there saying you are dead, I did read a report and I did look up something that was on a YouTube or a Facebook or whichever outlet it was. But again, please remember, just because we iterate or we say those things, Facebook, YouTube, I'm hoping that all of you are adult enough that you're going to do your due diligence as well. Please refer to law firms. Please refer to the experts in those areas prior to taking any of our recommendations. We are giving you concrete information that could potentially help you financially, but equally, we want you to be responsible by seeking the necessary assistance should you need that assistance. Okay, we always want to make sure that all of our viewers, clients, anyone who chooses to use our information in whichever capacity, please again use the proper understandings and do your due diligence with seeking out that professional resources if necessary. But when it comes to credit repair, when it comes to dealing with collection agencies and things of that nature, I'm going to tell you right now, there's nobody out there that's better. There's nobody out there better, and I've already asked. You are that good? Meet me on the show. But let's continue. Credit report say you are deceased. If you're dead, you're dead. Again, I've heard and have read where there was one person that took them eons, and I still don't even know, even to this day, if they ever were able to correct that deceased situation. But again, these are things that you have to be aware of. And this is the one that I like that I just found, which is the OFAC alert, which is the Office of Foreign Assets Control. This alert on your credit report tells a lender or potential employer that your name matches with the U.S. Department of Treasury specifically designated national, so SDN list, this is a list of suspected terrorists, drug traffickers, money launderers, etc. So again, please check your credit reports. There could be things on your credit report. If you're not checking them, you're getting denied, and you're not reviewing those letters that come in the mail, you're getting denied. You're not taking the time to look at some of those things that might be preventing you from jobs, that might be preventing you from an apartment, that might be preventing you from the opportunity to purchase a car, it might be preventing you from the opportunities to buy a home. It's really overdue time, folks. You got to start looking into some of these things that are preventing us from the benefits of life. Excuse me. All right, so keeping it moving. So how do we dispute these things? Disputing challenges from your credit reports. How do you go about actually disputing them? Well, I like to call them disputes and challenges. So this dispute really means I did not do that. I didn't buy definition itself, it's saying that I did not do that. So you're sometimes setting yourself up for failure by when you respond to something automatically just with the word itself is setting you up for failure. So please be careful with disputing an item. Challenge it. Challenge credit errors on your report. It's just that simple. If you find any incorrect information on your credit report under the FCRA, which is the Fair Credit Reporting Act, you have the right to dispute, challenge until they remove it, or obviously until they leave it. The first step is disputing, challenging credit report errors is to contact the company which issued the credit report. So Equifax, TransUnion, Experian. I would never do anything on their website. Please send them something in writing. When you do something on their website that limits your abilities to go back and then say, oh, wait a minute, because they're only giving you a select amount of choices. So please do what you must do in a challenge understanding or dispute understanding per the U.S. mail. Tips for mailing a certified or a credit report. A credit dispute challenge letter. Make sure you make a copy. Do not send the original of any documents which you may have to provide. Some of these letters do sometimes accompany your social security number. They may have a proof of address like a bill or a utility understanding. They may equally ask for your driver's license. Please do not send your original documents, and also send this certified mail. You're creating a case, and that case is going to require documents. So if you have no documents, then you're going to have no evidence. If you have no evidence, you have no case. All right. And this is just the beginning steps of what you do should you be in any situations where you're dealing with a collections company. And I'm telling you right now, folks, as I know, as I am 55, you are dealing with some collections companies. You might not be dealing with them because you are avoiding them, but you are dealing with some collections company. I talked about this 2 words. It's called adverse inference. That means your purposeful avoidance of an issue can equally come back to haunt you. So please, adverse inference. All right. If you are purposely avoiding, whether it be a correspondence that comes in the mail, telephone, clearly you do not have to answer anyone over the phone. I tell everybody the means of getting around that is to say, are you this person? A means of getting around that is to say, I am a person. These calls are being recorded for quality assurance and training purposes. So as soon as you say you are a person, that changes the whole direction in which their inquiry into whether or not you are the person that they're seeking. You do not have to give anyone your information. You do not have to give anyone your information. Okay? Especially a random stranger calling you on the phone. If you're going to give a random stranger your information on the phone, my number is 805-428-9424. I got a bridge around in the backyard that I want to sell you. All right? So please, debt collectors, individuals that are randomly calling you on the phone, please do not do that. But these are your steps right there. Orchestrate a letter. If you are unsure of how to orchestrate that letter, please get with us. Make a copy of all the documents that you're going to be presenting, that you're going to be mailing in with that challenge or with that dispute, and also certify that mail because you are now creating a case. Should this go in the manner in which it resolves the situation with 1 or 2 or 3 letters, great, fantastic. But should it not, and you want to take this to a courts, by all means, you're going to need documentation to be able to do that. All right, so the cost of a credit report error. Credit reports errors are too common. And many times, if they are small enough or small errors, you might just let it go. Okay, that's not a good way to think about it. Not knowing how about it, or you might not know how to dispute the credit report error. In any case, a small credit report error could have serious consequences for your financial future. So even if they are tiny ones, even if they are small ones, which you don't understand, please do not let something like a credit report error turn into a larger issue where you lose hundreds of points, or even if it turns into what I like to call a judgment. where you're now having to present information to the courts that you might not even have to validate something that you do not even own. Right? All right, importance of your credit score. Credit score errors can have a serious effect on your credit score. Your credit score is a number created by a credit reporting agency that is put together based on the information found in your credit report. So they take this wheel, they average out some numbers based on criterias, and of those criterias, they create a score. That score in itself is flawed because of the information that they're using to create that score. So until we get to the understanding that you're going to have to go through what we're going through in order for this to be corrected in the manner in which it needs to be corrected. And I've talked about it on many times. If you're not using credit, you're not building credit. So everyone thinking, oh, I'm doing so great with my debit and my cash, you're not. You're not. Your credit score will never be affected if you're just using debit and cash. You have to start using the products that you need to start building the success that you want. It's just that simple. The most commonly used credit score is your FICO score. And it itself, I have already realized, being part of the FICO scoring mechanism for the last 5 months now, I've already realized that that is a flawed score as well. They have individuals, associates, and people there that cannot answer the basic questions. So again, if you can't answer the basic questions to my understanding, then you clearly must have a flawed mechanism. And until they can find someone who can answer the basic questions. Why do you have to have 7 criterias for paying on time? 7. I'm not making this up. They have 7 criterias for paying on time. There should only be 1 criteria. Did you pay on time or did you not pay on time? It's just that simple. But they got 7 criterias to paying on time. Makes absolutely no sense. But like I said, until my FICO can bring their CEO or their COO or their CFO or one of their smart people to the show, or even just call me, because I've been asking you guys to call me multiple times, because I'm not going to stop. I'm going to constantly keep asking you to do what you should be able to do, which is answer our basic questions, or you shouldn't have a scoring model that we're using. A public option is the only option that we as consumers should be counting on. These private entities are taking advantage of us, and they're knowingly doing it by violating or allowing for habitual abusers of the very laws that are there to protect us. They're allowing them to violate those laws over and 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 over. House resolution will explain everything that I just said. House resolutions that brings the CEOs of top companies into Congress, into DC, to explain their overall function. And the House resolutions that I've read are disturbing. Okay, so CFPB, you should be doing a much better job. But back to the score. This score is used by lenders, banks, credit card companies, etc., in order to determine the likelihood that you will repay your debts. It gives an idea of how risk of an investment it would be to do business with you. And I like to look at that one and go, wait a minute. The banks and everybody who's lending to you have all the protections under the sun. You have zero protection from these habitual abusers of public trust, namely a bank, namely a third party. So again, once we get this scoring mechanism under a full auditing and control process, let's just go with the flow. Let's just go until we can get them to understand you're not dealing with the crazy people anymore. You're not dealing with those who don't understand this scoring mechanism. It only works to your advantage. It doesn't work to ours, but we're going to get there to where we have it so that consumers can benefit from knowledge, not these okey-doke math equations or whatever it is that they're using, these algorithms that do not add up. They do not add up. They add up for the big business, and they leave consumers in harm's way. Nope. FICO scores ranges from 300 to 850. The higher the score, obviously, the better. All right. The lower the score clearly tells you that you're going to need some form of recovery. All right. Errors on your credit report can cost you thousands. An error on your credit report can lower your credit score. A low credit score can be damaging and hurt you in many ways, including some of these ways. Much higher credit card interest rates. And those interest rates, I'm telling you, 24%, that ain't no joke. That ain't no joke. That ain't no joke. For every $1,000, you're giving someone $24. Depending on how bad your credit is, it could be for every $100. Okay? If you're dealing with alternative lenders out there, if you're dealing with those payday places, if you're dealing with those auto title loan places, absolutely, you could be paying a heck of a lot. So please, this doesn't cost you anything to fix your credit. It doesn't cost you nothing if you are going to do it on your own. That's what these sessions are all about. For me to give you a plethora of information so you can go out there and we'll guide you through it. We'll help you. We'll navigate you. You don't have to do it on your own. Higher home and car insurance premiums, higher home mortgage interest rates. It can affect your U.S. government clearance. Higher private school loan interest rates, loss of job opportunities. Okay, loss of job opportunities. Who's going to want you dealing with their money if you can't handle your own money? Denials in loans and credit offers. You're going to need credit. You are going to need credit. They just raised the minimum wage in July 1st to $15. You're going to need credit so bad it's almost unbelievable for anyone to think that they're never going to need credit. They just raised the minimum wage. We're now just hitting our fourth wave of a pandemic that we should have never been in to begin with. You're going to need your credit more than you ever could possibly imagine. And the only way to get there is to find institutions, to find individuals who are dedicated to the process of you succeeding. We've already succeeded. We are already there. We are already making that move to making sure that we are good. Our job now is to make sure you're good. Our job now is to make sure our communities are good. Our job now is to make sure not just our communities, but our cities are good. Our jobs now are not just to make sure that our cities are good, it's to make sure that our neighborhoods are good. It's to make sure that our communities, larger outside communities, are good. We have to do what we need to do without the assistance of anyone else. This is all on us. Every single last one of us. This is all on us. We got to do this. Government's going to be there to provide what it needs to provide. But if you're going to get your hands on what government is providing, you're going to have to make sure that you have come to the table correct. And coming to the table correct is making sure that your data is on point. So be aware of credit report scams. Be aware of them. They're out there, just like they're the good ones out there. There are some bad ones out there. There are many companies out there that prey on consumers with less than desirable credit. Please be careful. Please, when a consumer is trying to get a loan that will help their family get a home, a car, or a job, and their credit is making it difficult, it may seem like a great idea to work with a company that is promising to repair your credit. I already told you, you can't repair credit. You can't fix credit. You have to recover from poor financial money management and decisions. It's just that simple. It's just that simple. You can't repair it. You can't fix it. You have to recover from poor financial money management. It's just that simple. Consumers must be very careful when turning to credit repair companies. Please be careful. If you can't ask them those questions and they're going to give you the ahs and hums and the e's and the who's and the ah and we'll be calling you back in 72 hours and blah and every time you call you can't get nobody. Most of these situations should be done with some form of a contract. If you are working with a mom and pops, not necessarily has to be any type of a contract. If you're communicating with emails, that in itself is also considered some form of a contract. So again, don't necessarily have to work with the biggest and the baddest, because sometimes they're not doing their job. Sometimes it pays off to work with those who are small, who have gone through the rigors, who have literally hunted down everybody that they can hunt down and asked all of those questions. Not everybody, but the good variety of people who've gone through the regs, who's looking at the CFPB, who's paying attention to what Congress is saying, who's looking at all of the laws that are out there for us as consumers, who is paying attention to the updates, who's viewing and reading all of the HRs that have been reported and put out there in the public sphere about how these companies take advantage of consumers, vulnerable consumers. Stop being a prey. Stop being a prey. Stop letting these companies take advantage of you. Only way to do that is to get involved in your own credit understanding. The more you know, the more you grow. And this is one way of getting past a lot of the unnecessary hardships that we've created for ourselves. All right, here's some signs when you're dealing with a credit repair scheme or a scam. If there are promises to a new credit identity or a fresh start to the credit history, we can't create a new identity for you. That don't work. Stop getting bought into these nonsensical things that don't work if payments is requested before any services have been provided. Again, you can sit down and they can give you a free consultation. That is a service. That is a service. But if you're then going to sign on the dotted line saying X, Y, and Z, then hold them to X, Y, and Z. If you don't get those letters, if you don't get those opportunities that are supposed to be presented to you, you got to let them know that. But the biggest part in where I see we make the biggest mistake is that we're not following up. We're not. We say, oh, here you go, and then we leave it at that. We can't do that. We can't just say, here you go, and leave it at that. You got to follow up. So if the company tries to prevent you from contacting the credit reporting agencies themselves, no, you are entitled to do that as well. All right, so you might be bringing them into the equation, but you yourself equally can reach out to those companies. If they try to dispute information on your credit report that you know is accurate, again, that's fraud. Can't do that. Can't do that. Please know, again, what they can do and what they can't do. Your current information, if it is accurate and they try to dispute it, that would be considered fraud. If they tell you to lie on credit applications, don't do that. Please don't do that. Again, falsifying documentation is considered on a lending opportunity is considered fraud. You're the one who's going to be in trouble. I was not working with this company, but I was working to help them with some of their clients. And one of the biggest concerns is that their clients would always come to me and tell me, well, they told me not to pay my bills. Who would tell you not to pay your bills? Or to do what? To get into where you can now write it off, or where the company's going to write it off? Doesn't work that way. Doesn't work that way. You can find yourself in more legal jeopardy. Please do things the right way. If you are falling on hard times, then I get it. Then that's understandable. But if you have the means to, do what you can, set up some payment arrangements. There are ways of getting around some of the hardships. Just don't fall victim to credit repair companies that prey on vulnerable consumers. If they tell you to use your CPN, which is a consumer provided number or a credit privacy number, no, okay? No, you have one social security number. The IRS knows you as this number. Please do not get caught up into these. Again, there are schemes out there where people are using these numbers, these fictitious numbers. Eventually, it's going to come back to bite you in the butt. I'm telling you, it's going to come back to haunt you, and that's not what you want. It's not what you want. So avoid the quick schemes because they do not work. There are always some catches to it, and you do not want to be caught in that type of a situation. All right, an EIN as an employer identification number from the IRS used by businesses. You can't do that. It is a federal crime to get an EIN under false pretenses. You cannot use numbers that do not add up to who you are. Your social security number is a document that tells you more about you than you probably could ever possibly know. All 9 of those numbers have importance about you. You can't just use other people's numbers or the numbers that are given for other means. An EIN is an employment identification number. You can't use that for obtaining a loan. You can't use that for personal preferences. That is considered a fraud. Credit repair schemes may also have you change your social security number. Some of them give you a number to use that is stolen. Social security numbers involving you in identity theft. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. I'm just going to leave it at that. It's not worth it. Do things legitimately, do things the right way. And I'm telling you, not only will it pay off, you'll keep yourself from federal offenses. All right, so you may have a violation case if debt collectors violate these laws. So all of the things that we've just talked about, you may have a case. You may have something that you can bring to a law firm and present as an actual case. You just got to know what is it, what's in my credit report that could potentially be a case. If you are being harassed by a debt collector or you're receiving robocalls from debt collection agencies, whether you owe the debt or not, you may have a case. All right, we do have an online forum, or you can call us at 805-428-9424 to get a free consultation. We are a consumer protection advocacy and activist with a proven track record in successful resolutions of credit challenges and disputes. We know the law. Plus, we bring 20 plus years of credit knowledge and expertise in fighting for you against illegal, harassing debt collection practices. You have rights. As long as you know your rights, you have them. If you don't know your rights, you don't have them. There are so many laws out there that protect you as consumers. And by God, I'm almost happy to say we know pretty much all of them. We have a great understanding of how you can navigate yourself successfully through. Just email us at Leverage Credit Recovery. You can call us also at 805-428-9424. I'm telling you the things that we know to help you navigate yourself successfully through all of these challenges. All right, so what rights do I have when a debt collector or collector is trying to collect money from me? Your rights are protected under the Fair Debt Collection Practice Act, which is the FDCPA. The FDCPA describes what a debt collection agency or collector legally can and cannot do in their efforts to collect money from you. Know your rights. When you are dealing with debt collectors, they must follow the law. If not, you can sue the debt collector for violating consumer protection laws. Again, I can't reiterate that enough. You can take a lawsuit against these violators, whether it be the violator of, meaning Equifax TransUnion for allowing that information, and equally the debt collection company. Punitive damages, mental distress. There are a lot of things that could be added to the harm that you as a citizen faces when it comes to financial harm or hardship that these collection companies put you through. And the only thing that you do is got to know the law. You just have to know what can you do. It's laid out there. We know it. And our job now is to pass it on to you so that you know it. Just that simple. So what types of debt collection practices are not allowed? Harassment, the biggest one. Harassment is not allowed. Debt collection companies may not harass, oppose, or abuse you or any third party they contact. Debt collection companies may not engage in any of the following while attempting to collect. Right? Use threats of violence or harm. They've eliminated that one, but they still use threats. Okay, they still use threats. You just got to know the words. You just got to understand the language. If you understand the language, you're going to be perfectly fine. If you understand that business language, if you understand the threatening language that these debt collection companies attempt to do, oh, you're going to be perfectly fine. Publishing a list of consumers who refuse to pay their debt, especially to a credit bureau. We know that they're giving this information away freely. So that means they're publishing a list. Okay, so again, we just have to know what to do. Use obscene or profane language. Now, I know some of them would love to, but I've been able to catch them. I don't even waste my time with them, number one, over the phone. I don't even waste my time. Repeatedly use the telephone to annoy someone. And I get this one all the time. These robocalls just keep coming in. They keep coming in. They keep coming in. They keep coming in. I get them all the time. And there is a log that you can now legally write these calls down, keep a ledger, and again, take it right to court, find you a law firm that would be more than happy to prosecute and help you with performing or putting together a case, or you can just wait for, as I stated, some form of a class action lawsuit. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian, all three of them will eventually be gone. A public option is the only option that needs to be known and had at this particular point. It's the only option. These private companies can no longer and should never have been given the opportunities of doing something that would have allowed for millions of people to be put in harm's way. Should have never been given, but unfortunately, this is what business does. It does sometimes good, and then it equally does some harm as well. So false statements. Debt collectors may not use any false or misleading statements when collecting a debt. And I can tell you right now, the amount of your debt is already incorrect. The amount of your debt is already incorrect. If a debt has been charged off, that debt amount that they have listed on your credit report is inaccurate. It is a misleading statement. They have now committed not only a violation, they have equally now committed fraud. You got to know these things. For example, debt collections may not tell you that they are an attorney or government representative, when in fact they are not. Falsely imply you have committed a crime, misrepresent that they operate or work for a credit bureau, misrepresent the amount of your debt, right there, the amount of your debt. If they have taken a bad debt deduction, meaning the original creditor, and they sold that debt, or that debt collection company acquired that debt, there is a bill of sales. That bill of sales is going to tell you exactly how much they paid for that debt, and they're withholding that information. Indicate paperwork indicate that papers being sent to you are not legal forms when in fact they are. States that you will be arrested if you do not pay. We know that that is something that they cannot do. You can't get arrested for debt. Just that simple. All right. So those are some of the false and misleading statements that do happen from a lot of these creditors or debt collection companies. So please be careful. Be careful. Be careful. Threatening to seize, garnish, attach, or sell your property or wages unless the collection agencies or creditors intend to do so. And it is a legal action. They can't just tell you anything. Again, we are adults. Please stop believing what other adults say, because a lot of times it's not true. It's not true. But they prey on our inexperience, our misunderstanding of what our actual rights are, and they know that. Threatening the action, such as a lawsuit, will be taken against you when such action legally may not be taken, or when they do not intend to take such actions. Just by saying they're going to do it is a violation. Giving false credit information about you to anyone, including credit bureaus, sending you anything that looks like an official document from a court or government agency, and it is not an official document. That is something that I've seen, on a regular basis, where you get a judgment that has not even been signed by the courts, and it has passed through the courts to make it to your house. It's pretty sad that they are using some of the most egregious abuses of the laws, and they know this is a quid pro quo. They're getting away with it because they know that we as a consumer have been victimized by debt collection companies and by now law firms. Law firms. If the two impeachments of Donald Trump has not showed us anything, the one thing that it has shown me is that we got some scrupulous lawyers out there that will do anything. If the bar now removing Giuliani's ability to practice law has not told us anything, it has definitely shown us that there are some bad actors out there when it comes to the legal profession. All right. And unfair practices. Please, again, be aware of unfair practices. Debt collection companies may not engage in unfair practices when they try to collect for debt. For example, collectors may not collect an amount that is greater than the debt. How? If they bought a debt and that debt was reduced to an amount, but yet they're going to use the original documents to present to the courts or to you stating that you owe this amount, and you yourself being unaware of what the actual amount, you're now being guilted into thinking that this is the amount because, yes, you can recall that you may have had a credit card, that you may have taken out a loan. But again, bad debt deduction unless your state law permits such a charge. Deposit a post-dated check early or use deception to make you accept collection calls or pay for telegrams. Take or threaten to take your property unless they can do so legally or contact you by postcard. These are some of the unfair practices. So it's really important that you yourself know about these egregious overreaches. Debt collection companies may not engage in unfair practices when they try to collect for a debt. We've already gone through that portion of it, so it's really important to realize. And I wanted to reiterate that 2 times because, again, the more you know about what they cannot do, the easier it's going to be for you to navigate yourself through. As I stated, this is going to be a 2-session understanding. We're going to be revisiting the second piece of Are You Being Harassed by a Debt Collection Company next week. And with that being said, I know we're about to wrap this session up. And as always, I like to leave it open for a couple of questions. If there's anyone out there that has some questions that you would love to ask, have answered at this particular time, this is what we do. We leave that small little opportunity open. But if no one does, you always know that what we do here is important to me. It's really important to me. It's really important that I make sure that I give you the most up-to-date information. It's really important that I make sure that I provide you with as much knowledge. I'm very thankful in the opportunities that I get to do this. I'm very grateful that I've been given the platform by Soul City Network to be able to do this. I'm blessed. I'm humbled. I'm appreciative. I'm someone who only wants to make sure that we as a community have what we need. And as long as we are working together, doing all of those things that the Creator has given us, our God-given talents. Once we all figure out our God-given talent, the only thing stopping us is us. Everybody out there, Yonkers natives, New York natives, United States of America, I love you. I appreciate you. Everybody continue to be safe. Please wear those masks. Social distance. If you have not got vaccinated, get vaccinated. The vaccines work. This is now a pandemic of the unvaccinated. People, do what we have to do to stay alive. I appreciate you. Love you. Be safe. Stay blessed and stay alive. Peace.
We are the sons and daughters of the soul. We are resilient and forever forward thinking. We ask for nothing else than the opportunity to live and to create the lives that we were meant to live. We want nothing but an equal chance at options and possibilities. The same possibilities and options to live out our potential as our fellow man. We want to be heard, understood, and expressive in our reality. We are the future. We are the creative. We are here.